Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order for June 2nd, 2025, 6 p.m. at the town hall here in Grafton. Number 2, adopt the agenda. Any corrections or additions? I see one. You have the regular meeting, the next regular meeting, June 2nd. It should
It
be
should be the 16th.
What date?
June
the
16th. Any other additions or corrections to the agenda? Hearing none, the agenda is adopted with the change of June 16th. Approved minutes of the regular. Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Do I have a motion to accept the agenda? All in favor? Ayes have it. Agenda is adopted. Approved minutes of regular meeting on May 19th. Any corrections, additions?
We can do it all.
Okay. All in favor of the minutes approved for a regular meeting on May 19th?
Right.
Okay, motion passed. Discussion of the Grafton flood maps and engineering studies, and we have Bill Kearns. Thank you, Bill, for coming.
Thank you, and thanks for putting me at the top. And the reason I wanted to discuss it at this meeting is that we've been asked to give final comments back to the engineer by the 5th of June. I've already, well, let me just go through. They've been studying what they call the West River study, started about 2 years ago. And about in March of 2024, they asked us to comment. They gave us 30 days to comment on what they have found at that point in time. And so we had several of you were probably at that meeting. Everybody was invited to be at it. And so we did a meeting on in March of 2024. And at the end of that meeting on March 15th, we got back to the comments from that meeting, which was that the engineers used a very detailed study of the north branch of the Saxon River. I mean, the Saxon River that comes from Holtonville all the way through town, and that led to a really great improvement to the mapping that they are proposing, the engineers are proposing. However, the other part of what they were proposing came from just taking what they had in data, using a little bit of LiDAR and mapping the south branch, which wasn't so hot. So we asked them to study the south branch before they come up with the new firms. And we also asked them to get rid of all the what they call digital effective data, which was basically the old FEMA map for the town. And the old FEMA maps for the towns look awful. And still are awful, and we're still living with them because whatever FEMA does, they won't do it until probably January, February next year. So we still have really awful maps. For instance, at my house, even though where I live up on Hinkley Brook, my house is not in the floodplain, but my garage and half my hillside is in the floodplain. Seth Hatchick, we did a letter of map amendment at his house. And the floodplain started about 65 feet up on the hill and came and involved his house. Under the new maps, with the new data that we got from them, his house and all his property is completely out of the floodplain. Mine is back in because that's where it should be. Okay, so there was another year went by, and in May 2025, they came out with the new engineering data-based maps. So I'm gonna say this right now. FEMA has never, ever accepted what the engineers have proposed for the maps. A good example of it is part of what I just told you, the 2007 maps, where my house is not in the floodplain, but my garage, which is across the street and up the hill, is in the floodplain. And so they have never, ever accepted them. So though my comments and the letters we send out to people are going to show that a whole bunch of people, including you, Pat, or Patrick, are no longer in the floodplain. Who knows what they're gonna do? Who knows how they're going to do it? FEMA in the past, and the reason we have 26 people who will be out of the floodplain if they follow the engineering. And the reason that happens is talking to Morris Root, who was at our meeting, and he did the engineering for the flood maps that we currently have. If you had a graph or a line like this and a straight line out, the floodplain, because FEMA didn't like to do the work, drew a line from the top of this line all the way out to the end of that line, though the ground may go like this. The flood plain was like that. So from where Middletown Road meets 121 all the way to Rockingham, it's off. The floodplain was overstated by 3 or 4 feet the whole distance. Every house except for the yellow house, every house from the bridge all the way out past the farm is out of the floodplain. 26 houses are out of the floodplain. Houses like Sith Patchett, where the map was so bad, it's out of the floodplain, according to this study. So this study, there are maps that they sent, and that show the maps that they sent are there's about 12 of them. Each one is a different part of the town. On the Excel sheet, if you want to find out where you are, if you are one of the ones affected, on the Excel sheet, I have listed in one column the number of the map that you live in. So, and then you can see the comments that I made for those people affected. This isn't everybody in town, but it's those people that are affected by the change. And those maps are on the website, is that correct?
They will be.
They will be. And the Excel sheets are on the website. What we intend to do is, if you are affected by this, or you're in the floodplain now and you're not affected by it because you're remaining in the floodplain, you're gonna get a letter from us, and you can go to the maps on the website and look at what the situation is from their opinion. I have categorized those people that are on our Excel sheets. There's about 140 on our sheets. A lot of them are in white. If you look at the ones in white, there's no change there. The ones that's in like lavender, those people were in the floodplain and remain in the floodplain. The dark green are those people that used to be in the floodplain that are out, and there's 26 of those. There is I think it's brown color, that those people may be out, and there are 12 of them. And then there are others who were out and are now maybe in, and those out who were out and definitely in. And there's not very many of those. For those people who are out now, but are gonna be in. And again, when the map comes out in the fall, we'll know whether or not you're in or out. But if you are out now and FEMA puts you in, if you need to get flood insurance while you are out. So this is the way it works. FEMA will send the maps, 90-day comment period before they are final. If you are in that, if you were declared in it now, in it then, but you're not now, you need to buy flood insurance right then if you want to get it, because your flood insurance will cost you as if you are out. But if you wait till they're final and approved, you will be charged as if you're in, and it goes from maybe $800 or $900,000 a year to $10,000 a year. And you could say, well, I've never flooded and I don't care. When you sell your house, you're gonna care. Because that person either has the cash to buy your house, or we're gonna get a mortgage. If they're gonna get a mortgage, they've got to have flood insurance. So it's really important for those people who are in that change. Now, we're gonna argue that all of those are not in the floodplain. And we've already commented that they should not be in the new floodplain. But who knows what will happen. Okay, but those are I think that's the most of the points that I wanted to make. And we will send letters to all the people that are affected. And also want you, if you're in the floodplain now, I want you to go to look at the Excel sheet. If there is a change in your status, please look at the comments and give us some feedback on whether or not you've ever been flooded or so on, because that's what they're looking for now. We don't want people to be put in the floodplain in the new maps when they should not be. Okay, and I think that we have to take any questions if there's time to do that.
So Bill, if someone has insurance now for flood insurance. And they're in the floodplain, but then it says you're out of the floodplain, do they keep their insurance?
That's
With
up
their
to-
grandfather?
That's up to them. If they're moved out by FEMA, when FEMA finally does it. If there are at least 2 properties, maybe more, right now, they're paying a real high insurance rate. Because they recently bought them and we've been trying to do letters of amendment. But the FEMA has been really hard to work with under the, because of this study. They already know they're out and they still are giving us a really tough time to get those people out by engineering. Okay. For instance, Joan Lake's house and the property next door, they're out. And so is Paulson, and so is Bill Brooks. All of those houses are now out. They all were in. If FEMA uses the engineering that has been, as it's been reported, all of those houses are out.
You're saying they don't often use the engineering?
Pardon me?
You're saying they don't often take the engineering advice?
They have never in the past. I don't know why they would now, but except that they're using LiDAR. So it's a lot easier for them to set the LiDAR and make the change on the LiDAR. In the old maps, they just didn't want to be bothered with detail. Apparently.
So am I right in understanding that if somebody's status has changed one way or the other, we will notify them? Is that what I'm hearing? Okay, either in or out or in, and no matter what. There's notification.
Right.
That's good,
I've broken them all down.
so people can,
Based on, okay, and that's the other thing, based on the maps that they sent us, which, when it's been very clear, those people I've said are out. according to, again, according to the engineer, not according to FEMA,
Right.
they're out. But there are some that. If you have a house under FEMA rules and the floodplain crosses the corner of your house, you're in the floodplain. So it's really hard on these maps because they're so hard to read, as far as the details that whether the house is in or out. And on some of them, it's really hard to tell.
Now, did you say that the South Branch has not been any engineering done on it?
No, but they changed the maps on some people. And we know, for instance, one of the ones that they changed map, and we know it's never been flooded, that property's never been flooded. Water gets up by the road, but the house has never been flooded in Irene or anything, so. But, the LiDAR shows that the elevation is such that it might flood. So that's, again, the engineers report on it. But at least they've gotten rid of all the floodplains up on hillsides. At least they've done that. Well, the engineer has, I don't know what England. Well, the other reason, the other thing I asked them is to put the streams in the stream beds. If you ever go on your A&R Atlas and look at Hinkley Brook on your A&R Atlas. And see where the stream is. I'll let you do it. And what the lady wrote back to me when I said, we want streams in. I said, my comment to them was, at least you have the floodplain in the stream bed, but you don't have the streams in the stream bed. And she wrote back and said, that's Vermont data. So the Vermont data, it starts up at your house, crosses the river and goes along north. Michelle, and it goes along and then somewhere around before my house, it crosses and then goes up behind my garage. It never is in the stream bed the whole way down. And they said that's just the way it is. And hopefully they'll fix that because, and I want them to put the roads on the map. You can't see the roads. And I want them to use leaf off background because you can't see houses if it's leaf on. I don't know if you notice the difference in when you look at maps that are leaf on, the shade trees cover everything. You can't see anything. And if you ever looked at the FEMA maps that we have now, I don't know when they flew it, but it had to have been sometime between December and February, because you can't see anything. It's all white. That's all you can see is white with lines on. And anything else? And I thank you very much for the time. Morgan, thank you very much for what you've done. And Morgan and I will get the letters out to those people who are affected by it. And anybody should go to look at the Excel sheets once they're up. And they'll be up soon, right?
Yeah, I'll do it.
And once they're up, just to see who's affected. Well, last thing, NFIP, the National Flood Insurance Program. Oh, let me say this before I say that. Firm flood insurance rate map. They are not flood maps. They're a map to tell the NFIP how much they're gonna charge you for insurance. That's all they're doing. Okay, so for instance, in my house, I wouldn't have to have flood insurance. In my house right now. And make things really ridiculous is if somebody were building up there now and I as administrator was doing it, I'd make them get a flood permit for their garage, but not the house. And that's us, but it's a flood insurance rating. Yeah, so the National Flood Insurance Program, shoot, what was I gonna tell you? I'm getting old. Shoot, I don't know.
On the Excel maps, as they look at them, you had some comments. Needing an address or information. If they have a question or further information on their property, do they contact Morgan?
Call Morgan, but if you know, call Morgan, she'll give you my phone number.
Okay.
Or, get a hold of me. I'd be happy to talk to anybody on it. Oh, the last thing I wanted to say, if you're one of those people, when the maps come out, or if you want to do it now, if you could look at it and you see that you're not in the floodplain, but the engineer says you're in the floodplain later, if you want Morris Roof, who is a really good flood engineer, the one I mentioned earlier, if you want him to do it, and I'm not advertising for him and I don't get anything out of it, but it costs a ton of money to do a flood insurance study, but with LiDAR, he can do any parcel. He said he would do it for $120. It's usually thousands of dollars, so, but he can do it with LiDAR. And then write an opinion, and he'll send that opinion to the engineers or to FEMA if it happens in the 90-day period.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, yeah, highway report, to award the Pettingill Bridge bid. Do you have those bids, Sue?
I have a copy of them to work on.
So, I know we all reviewed them. And we need to have a motion, on the bids in terms of what we've decided. For your opinions.
I would make a motion. I just need to. Second. I would make a motion to award this bid to Miller Construction. Who is not the low bid, but is according to V-Trans and. Our research, the most qualified to do the work, the low bid is. Really just a paving company, so I'd make a motion to award the bid for $28,634 to Miller Construction.
Was it for $8,000?
$28,634, that's Miller.
Wasn't there an email back from the solicitor that they did have expense?
I do not know anything about that.
We'll find that.
Morgan at the board,
Everybody?
I think so.
I never saw it.
Now, I don't think that necessarily negates what V-Trans is saying, but there was an email back from the lowest bidder that they had some number of years in bridge construction. Just for consideration.
I did not see that email.
Okay, here it is. So I had asked if they subcontract any of their concrete work. And they said that they do their own concrete work and. The owner of that company was a bridge supervisor for 20+ years.
I'll second the motion.
My motion.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor for Miller Construction.
Sure.
Yep.
As it was left, I felt that the V-Trans recommendation and the research that a number of us did, you did, suggested that second, the bid to Miller
Yeah.
Construction was the stronger bid.
None of these, I just want to be sure that everyone's aware.
So that's,
Yeah, and if you go to the website on the paving company, all it was all their pavings that they did. Nothing really about construction of bridges. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor of the motion to award Miller Construction at $28,634. All in favor? Any opposed? Or you gonna accuse yourself when that did? Was it Miller?
No, my brother works for Daniels.
Okay. Good I thought too. Okay, the motion passed for Miller Construction.
Your agenda is at the bottom of that.
No, sorry. Fire pond mowing. And Morgan, you did some digging on some information.
Yeah, so there was an original agreement in 1974. And then there was an amendment to that. And then there was a vote at a town meeting in the year 2000. And at that point is when the Wyndham Foundation gave the town $35,000. And in the motion, it is to effectively have responsibility of the fire protection system. So I sent all of these, and after that vote, there was a second amendment to the original agreement. I had sent all of those documents to the town attorney and he got back to me today. He said essentially, based on all of the agreements in the back and forth, it seems as though it is the town's responsibility for maintaining a full system, which would include the mowing and care of the fire pond. I will say that there is language in the second amendment that the town could discontinue the system altogether, but and personally, I don't think that would be effective at all. I think everybody's insurance would go up and that would be a big mess, so yeah, essentially he felt as though the town does seem responsible for that, especially after the vote in 2000 and the transfer of that money. And he strongly encouraged the town to, of course, maintain the mowing around the pond, but also in the future, talk about dredging it and just making sure the quality of that pond is good, which we talked about.
Did you ask the attorney if there was a fire and we ran out of water, who was liable?
I did, and he had said that if there, for instance, if there's a leak in the pipes and the town knows about it, but is avoiding repairing that, then we would essentially be responsible for that. But if there was some, and he said act of God, some type of nature cause that, you know, caused the system to fail that the town wasn't privy to, that would be a different discussion. When we talk about dredging the pond, he did say that it would be important to know the capacity of that pond. Just, I think, in terms of like fire protection, how much water they can actually pull from that. I don't know the specifics on how that is determined, but
Does the fire company know that capacity?
I don't know if they know.
Is that the only source for the fire company?
For the hydrant system.
Just for the hydrant system and for the, my understanding, the sprinklers at the inn and
Nature museum.
nature museum.
There are other dry hydrants throughout town. On private property, but. And one at the swimming pond on the town property.
Yeah, I would assume about dredging, they're not gonna know, they're gonna have Schultz in there, they're the volume.
And we don't have any history of maintenance on that.
I wasn't able to find any, and I know Suzanne did some digging, so. Yeah.
Thank you, Morgan, for your research there. It's very helpful. So our highway crew would have to manage that mowing. Rural roadside ash removal grant agreement.
Yeah, sorry. So we received a grant agreement in the amount of $8,000 to remove ash trees along Hall Ranch Road. And in turn, there's just a traditional grant agreement that needs to be signed. In sake of time, the state had reached out to me and said that they were working on closing out their fiscal year, so they strongly encouraged a grant signature last week. So I just wanna be upfront, I did go ahead and sign the grant, but I would prefer I get official authority.
Do you need a motion or?
Yeah.
Motion for Morgan. Who has signed, acknowledge that she has signed the grant, all in favor, or, I need a
So moved.
motion.
So moved.
Second, anybody second that?
Second.
All in favor,
Aye.
motion passed.
Can we go back to the fire pond?
Sure. Yeah.
Does the highway department have what they need?
No.
Was it?
Oh, you don't?
No, we have a roadside mower, but you can't go up in there and mow.
Yeah, it's all.
Yeah, you tip it
marked.
over, get stuck, it's or hundred and some odd $50,000 piece of equipment, go from there for.
Well, what's your suggestion?
I would put it out to bid and pay someone to mow it, I mean, once a year to mow it. You're not talking about very much money. And,
The dredging sounds a little bit more
well,
involved.
that we can't do either.
No, I would assume
don't
you
have
could not do that.
excavator half the size big enough to do it.
Right, but that's a sense, sort of,
I don't think the mowing is something we should look at doing a bid immediately, and the
Yeah.
dredging we'll probably need to talk about in our next budget. session.
Right, get, folks that are qualified to give us a bid.
I think the dredging is pretty involved, and there's gonna be, a period where you won't have, the pump
Water,
available.
yeah.
So you'd have to discuss all that.
like a
And
progress.
that's gonna be a pretty good deal. The mowing, I think we should be able to put out.
Mhm. Okay,
Okay.
The motion that we, put out the bid for mowing at the pipe.
We need
I'll say so moved for that motion.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Who, who should help write this bid specifications? I don't know much about this pond. And I don't know if we have plans for it, so. A few of us sit down and.
So we'll do it, I can help. I probably have more information than you do, we can figure it out.
Why don't the road foreman do it? We don't have to get involved in it. I can read it,
Buzz and Colby?
Would like to see it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Any other issues with highway report? Colby?
no issues as of right now.
Grading, is all the roads been?
Right now the grader is down, Cat was supposed to be here today and they never showed. The guy called out sick, so. But they're gonna be here now tomorrow. It should be just a simple. Quick fix thing, and he should be got it going, but, today we did 2 culverts. On Cabell Road, and tomorrow we're doing Lyman Hill, and then Wednesday. Fisher Hill, so this week we're probably gonna do a culvert for most of the week. Looks like it's gonna start raining in Thursday anyway, so. Probably won't get a whole lot of grading done. But, I am probably gonna we're definitely gonna grade Cabell Road into Brook this week. Before the rain.
Anybody in the audience have any issues for highway? Concerns? Thank you, Colby. Clerk treasurer,
Well, she's not here tonight, but she did want me to let you know that she'll have, current expenditure reports for you before the next select board meeting.
I have other down here for clerk and treasurer.
I don't have anything.
Okay. Committee reports. Cemetery. Okay. Parks committee,
No,
highway committee. Personnel committee. Buzz and I met with Wade Mashore last week on the drug and alcohol policy for commercial motor vehicles operations with Morgan, had a great meeting. And we have put in place, the drug and alcohol policy for the town of Grafton. And Morgan, do you wanna talk any more about it? What we have established in that policy?
Yeah, it's a pretty standard policy, similar to many other policies. There was a model from VLCT,
Mhm.
and there were some certain sections that the town had to make specific to ourselves and the size of town that we have. So we spent quite a lot of time on it. We had a consultant from VLCT within the HR department review it. And she said it looked pretty standard, and she was fine with our changes. I sent around a copy of it, so if everyone's in agreement, I would just need a motion to approve it and then signatures from each board member.
Any questions from the board on the policy that Morgan sent out? If none, can I have a motion to adopt the drug and alcohol policy for the commercial motor vehicle operations for the town of Grafton, which will be included in our personnel committee, personnel policy, sorry.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried, so we need to sign everybody has to sign.
Yeah. Doesn't have feedback.
Thank you, Morgan, for getting in touch with VLCT and those phone calls and the emails. They're very helpful. July 23rd flood update. Do we have any updates, Morgan?
I do not.
And the septic pumping ordinance update, request for proposals.
I can touch on that a little bit. So we met a little small wastewater committee, which consisted of Matt Ciano, Eric Stevens, Suzanne Welsh, Kathy, and myself. And we worked with the Winning Regional Commission to prepare a request for proposals to update our septic pumping ordinance, which has not been updated since 1999. So essentially this is to obtain a consultant to help us with that process. There is a timeline indicator for essentially a select board, after we advertise it, hypothetically, if it gets approved tonight, advertise it, and then the select board would hire a consultant by the second meeting in July. And we've asked that the ordinance be updated by sorry. No later than April of 2026. So it's next spring.
So this is are we hiring somebody,
We would be,
Advertising now.
advertising,
yes, and
Okay.
all of the funds for that would be covered under the $200,000 grant that we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's circle completed.
Yes, sorry.
That's all right. I knew there was something in there, I couldn't know what.
And I just have to add, to get to this point we are tonight, there are many, many meetings, many, many phone calls, many, many delays. So we're here now, and we want to get it done.
This, so if the RFP is approved, we would just need a motion to go ahead and advertise the.
Okay, I know you sent that out to everybody.
Yep, I have a copy of
Yeah.
that. So
Any questions on that? Ah,
I'd make a motion to advertise this RFP for this planning services for septic pump ordinance update.
I'll second it. All in favor of the, ordinance update to advertise?
Aye.
All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? I have it. Other business, any? Other business? Public comment?
Keith, this is.
Gee, yeah.
Hello. Honorable select board members, I'm speaking today on behalf of a nonpartisan ad hoc group of community members who share a common interest in supporting our democracy. Every competitive endeavor follows a set of rules, whether it's baseball, Scrabble, spelling bees, or football. Good sports read and understand the rules and agree to abide by them. In the competition of political ideas used to govern these United States, our Constitution is the set of rules. Astoundingly, it's a short document. Pocket-sized version fits on 30 pages. It's a document we all learn about in civics class. Many of us can recall at least the preamble, which reads in part, "We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union." We understand that not everyone has the same point of view on political policy. Well-intentioned people can disagree on how to best handle taxes, social programs, and immigration. But no one is allowed to ignore the rules embodied in the Constitution in pursuit of their objectives. If you don't like something in the Constitution, there's a process to change it. That's happened 27 times in the 237 years since that document has been ratified. But until it's changed, good sports, good Americans follow the rules. We are here today to ask the select board on behalf of the town of Grafton to consider a resolution that acknowledges that our town plays by the rules, specifically those constitutional rules that apply to fundamental individual rights. Passing the proposed resolution will signal to each person in town who is a resident, property owner, or visitor that Grafton continues to be a place where the Constitution is cherished. It's short, I'll read it and then pass the copy on. So the proposed resolution is as follows. Whereas the United States Constitution guarantees certain fundamental rights, such as due process, equal protection, and freedom of speech to all persons. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the select board of the town of Grafton pledges to protect access to these fundamental rights for all persons residing in or visiting our town. Be it further resolved that the select board affirms its understanding that these rights are protected by federal and state law, and they extend to all persons regardless of citizenship, immigration status, race, national origin, religion, gender, sexual orientation, or political belief. Thank you.
The discussion, because I'm okay with all of it.
Say it again.
I'm okay with all of that, so.
I wholeheartedly endorse this resolution.
Sorry,
You're looking for a signature, please, Steve, we're looking at, are you looking for a signature on each of these, or just a motion?
We're just asking the folks who want to leave the motion or time frame and I. This is a good deal.
I don't have one.
Oh,
No, there was a blank.
oh.
Any correction?
Have any comments on the board?
I mean-
Thank you for that.
Excuse me, this is Charles Bonin. Is there going to be a vote tonight on this?
I don't anticipate one.
You don't?
I don't. But
You want to review it for?
No, I'd like to know what this is all about. You know, what's happened all of a sudden to our Constitution? I mean, can somebody identify why this is happening?
You mean overall politics in the United States? I think that would take a while and probably a long time.
Okay, well, then I think this is awful.
I personally have no problem with this statement. I've signed it. I would vote on it.
Yeah.
But, I'll leave it open to the other select board members to think what they think.
But what is the reason? What has happened to our Constitution that we have to have a vote like this? Is somebody going to stand up and say to the public what has happened? We have a Constitution.
Mhm.
There's nothing
think this
happened to it, so why do you have to reinforce that it exists? We know it exists.
I think you're correct with that statement.
I guess I disagree. I don't think there's harm. And I think there's good in reaffirming that we support the Constitution. That's what we're here for. We're sort of at the base level of democratic government. The town meeting is the original form of our democracy. And if a group of people have put forth a proposal, whether it's less what's happened, more that, well, let's take a moment and take a breath and say, yep, these are the rules, and we agree with the rules. That's how I see it. And I think that as our select board, I don't think there's anything wrong with reaffirming what we believe or what we take an oath to support.
Well, let me
Whether or
ask you
not-
this. Let me ask you this. I always seem to get to this meeting a couple of minutes late. Is there a pledge of the allegiance to the flag before the meeting?
No.
Okay, so why are we reaffirming the Constitution then today?
Why not?
Well, it sure sounds like it.
Well, this group has come forward and brought it forward. Do you guys want to speak to that?
It's public comment at the select board and it was.
Well, they can speak.
Everybody has the right to bring forth their comments.
I'd like to know why this was brought in front of us. What has
Can you
happened?
guys speak?
We have to have this.
I think we're acknowledging our concern. The safety of who? Of the people that come and go from Grafton and the community of Grafton.
I think we have not had any incidents.
No, we haven't in Grafton. No, we have not. But this is this is a non-binding resolution just to acknowledge the
I think what it has, I mean, this has been throughout the state. It's been there, this resolution is not just initiated right now. If you guys want to speak to that, might be helpful. It's going around all over the country. That individual governing groups are reminding everybody of the rules. Yes, there are concerns that there are some places in this country where rules aren't being played by necessarily. And, so can you guys speak to what's been going on in our state in terms of this?
I think there are 29 or 30 other communities that have passed this resolution. A resolution like this, only longer. And I think it concerns, the Supreme Court has reiterated that due process and equal opportunity are here for everyone, no matter what their status, as long as they're in the United States. And so I think it's responding to some of the instances that have happened across the country. But I do think that it is very non-controversial. It's a restatement of the Constitution. And so I think it responds to the time that we're in, that some of the instances that have happened. And people have been pulled off the street and shipped to prisons in El Salvador. And I think that it just says that even the Supreme Court Justice Scalia, the most conservative justice there is, has reiterated in a decision that all persons here have due process and equal opportunity if they're in the United States, and that's what it says. And I think that the other communities in Vermont are responding to the same situation. So there's nothing revolutionary about it.
I think the controversy has come about with illegal immigrants coming to the country with their rights and their due process.
Right, but there are
That's
some
where, that's where,
immigrants, people that are being shipped away are here legally. That's what the problem is. So I think this reiterates that these people are here legally.
I actually have a comment, I think that there are, or I talked to all of them. I think that particularly in Vermont, when tourism is so important to our state and people come from all over the world and from all sorts of different places to recreate here and spend money and spend time, I think they want to feel welcome and safe in an environment. And this is symbolic, non-binding resolution, but I think when your town makes that sort of a resolution, it makes visitors from everywhere feel more comfortable. And due process actually applies to everybody, whether you're a citizen of the United States or whether you're not. Every person who's on US soil has the right to due process, which is part of our Constitution, which is what Keith was talking about. And I think that there's the growing level of, everybody knows that that tourism in the United States is decreasing somewhat. People are nervous. If we can make these statements, it makes people feel a little bit more welcome, and that increases tourism and the bottom line for everybody. So it's a matter of finance as well as a matter of playing fairly by the rules, as Keith brought up.
Oh, thank you. So I want to state up front that I'm in full support of this resolution and all that has been said about the reasons why. I also want to point out that part of our objective here was to bring this topic up in public comment and ask for it to be placed on the agenda of the next select board meeting. In this way, if it is on the agenda, then it is a topic for discussion among the select board members, and it can have a motion and a vote. And the public will be warned that this topic is on the agenda, which is really the way we are democratic in our own behavior. And so I'm just wondering if we could make that formal request. That this topic of the consideration of the resolution we presented tonight could go on the agenda of the June 16th meeting.
I think that's a good idea, so
Thank you.
I'll move that we add this on to the agenda of the meeting of the 16th. For discussion and vote.
do I have a second?
Second,
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, ayes have it, it goes on the agenda for June 16th.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
thank you for clarifying that.
Any other public comment? Next meeting, June
Kathy, I didn't want
16th.
to have a public comment. I just want to say thank you very much to the GIA and to the Grange for organizing such a meaningful Memorial Day, Decoration Day celebration in this community. Kathy was marching in the parade, Buzz was the speaker at the event. The school children were breathtaking in the way they took the ceremony and the commemoration so seriously. There was a poem written about freedom, which just brought tears to your eyes by a sixth grader. And it was a very special day. Bee Fisher herself would have been smiling down upon us, I think. So I just wanted to say thank you to all those who made that day happen.
Do we think that that poem could be published in the Grafton News?
Kathy, do you think as the school board chair that you could possibly request a copy of that poem from the school? I don't know what their,
Yeah,
that'd be great.
I mean,
By
it's-
Emma, you remember it, Kathy.
yeah. Charlie, are you still on? Still on.
He's still
I am.
listed on.
I'm still here.
Yeah, do you have any other comments? Before we
Well,
close this meeting?
I no, because I agree, and I'm glad that there's been a breath taken with Suzanne's motion. I don't agree with some of the things that were said about the status of persons. Those decisions haven't been made by our Supreme Court. And so I don't agree with that. But I'm just sorry that this was brought up. I think we live in the most wonderful country in the world. We don't have to keep reiterating it. We know that it's wonderful. Why does a select board want to take a position like this? I just don't get it. It really isn't the responsibility of the board. The board is here to do the local things that have to be done locally. It's
Right.
it's not here to discuss a national issue. And, you know,
Well, I have to agree with you. And we do have in our personnel policy that our employees do not engage in any political arena. So,
The rules?
But it's not fine to whether it's.
yeah. Yes, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I'd just like to comment that, first of all, I fully agree with the proposal, the draft that he was presented and comments that Michelle, Suzanne, others have made. The personnel policy applies to employees, not to elected officials of the town.
We're employees.
You're not employees, you're not employees, you're elected officials.
I don't want to argue
The
tonight.
personnel policy, you can read the clear definition that elected officials are exempt from the policy, such as it would control political activity and other matters.
I think it's a good idea that we are having this discussion next meeting. And it'll be interesting to hear all the points that need to be made next time.
I have a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn.